Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the KnifeCenter, and I've got a table chock full of knives in front of me, which can only mean one thing. It's our favorite time of the week, taking a look at the coolest knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. First up, very exciting, we have the new KnifeCenter exclusive version of one of CIVIVI's best, most successful knives, the Conspirator. And awesome knife. It's got great bones to start with. Nice neutral sized handle. Works for a lot of different hand sizes. And a great everyday capable blade shape. It's a big, broad drop point. It's the kind of thing I happen to really enjoy and really appreciate the utility of. So we just kick things up a notch for our exclusive. First off, you want to know what the steel is, don't you? Thomas?
Sure.
You already know, but you work here. For everyone else out there, S35 VN steel, good bump up over the Nitro V of the base model, which is a good steel in its own right, absolutely, but particle steel like S35 VN is always a nice thing. And the handles are black aluminum with a matte texture. Not too slippery, just enough texture there to make it feel like it's not gonna slip out of your hands. And then on top of all of that, the price, just under $110. 1 penny under $110, $109.99 right now. That is a lot of knife for the money. You've got the button lock for the action. You've got ball bearings in the pivot. As such, you can hold that button down and do the wrist flick open or closed. You've also got the flipper tab here, so you can flipper the tab open. And then we've also got dual fullers on this knife, which means because this knife is unlike the button lock Elementum, which requires you to press the button to open the blade, you can actually do that reverse flick thing very easily, in fact. And it's actually surprisingly easy to do. Works great. You could thumb open it as well using that same spot, using that fuller. A lot of different options for opening this knife. Fewer for closing, but you know, lots of great fun right there. Deep carry pocket clip. It is reversible. It is nice and deep. Very premium feeling knife for the money. I mean, used to be every knife that came in at the $110 price point was a more premium option. That's certainly not always the case anymore, unfortunately. So it's great to be able to bring something like this out as a KnifeCenter exclusive. These features, these materials at this price, we think is a winner. So a little kind of fun behind the scenes tidbit. When we started working with CIVIVI for this particular knife, they hadn't done any aluminum handles on any of their knives at that point. So they said, sure, we're willing to work with that. Give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. It came out really nicely, and that is why you're also seeing some other aluminum products, aluminum handled knives from CIVIVI coming out right about now. We've got the Altus is coming out in a button lock, or sorry, in a aluminum handled version to complement the G10 versions. We've also got the new Qubit that just hit the shelves. The rest of these CIVIVI and WE products actually just dropped earlier this week, yesterday in fact, by the time you're watching this video. A few different versions of this. The pricing starts at about $67, and those come with a Sandvik 14C28N blade. We've also got this more premium version right here. Aluminum on all of them, but this one has a Damascus blade, and this should be their 9CR series steel as the base for their Damascus. So you've got some pretty decent performance right there. Although the 14C28N, as is typical with a Damascus product and a non-Damascus version of any given knife in the same lineup, usually the non-Damascus is going to give you better performance, better edge holding, but it's not going to give you the looks of the Damascus. If I didn't mention it, about 81 bucks for this Damascus version. You've got a 3-inch blade, kind of a leaf shape, almost a Spyderco blade shape in a way, but without the opening hole for that matter. Handle, nice full grip, even for my slightly larger than average hands. Haven't worried about where the tang of the knife hides into the handle, and as a result, they're able to give us that bigger handle. In a way, I'm not just saying this because it has a kind of Spyderco-ish leaf point, spear point style blade. Kind of occupies a similar point in my mind as something like the Delica from Spyderco. You've got that full handle, very capable blade, but in a kind of a smaller, more controllable size instead of getting to be too much. Pretty cool. The blade stock is nice and thin, quite thin in fact. I mean, it's thinner than bug out thin. I didn't even notice that until just now. What are we dealing with? 0.1 inches? It looks smaller, but what do I know? Wait a minute, I have a thing over here. Can confirm, I brought out the calipers. This is actually 0.09 thin, thick, whatever nomenclature you'd like to use. Crazy thin, full flat grind, distal taper, gets narrower towards the tip. This thing is going to just be a pocket scalpel with enough handle to do some bigger jobs too. Deep carry pocket clip, inset into the aluminum with flush head screws. You don't see that too much on CIVIVI's lineup, so that's very cool. It is reversible. Glad to see that because with the button lock here, it's very easy to use with the left hand as well, even though it's a right hand biased button. You got the same great flickiness, no flipper tab on this knife, but you do have dual thumb studs for nice, snappy opening. Great little knife. Next up, we have everybody's favorite, the Elementum. There you go. Actually, if you want to know more, sure, I'll tell you a little more. New handle on this Elementum. This guy is coming in 5350 with a D2 blade and Ivory G10 with this Frag pattern on it. Very cool, kind of gives a new feel to the classic Elementum, which at this point is almost a classic EDC knife. I mean, it's definitely made a name for itself these last couple of years. 3-inch drop point blade, hollow grind with a satin finish. Deep carry pocket clip, single-sided on this one. Not inset, but you do have flush screws, which is nice. We've got a liner lock, ball bearings in the pivot, and that flipper tab for good action. Looks great on its own, but I could also see this looking really cool if the RIT die people out there, people who like to customize their scales, get a hold of this. Do some real cool stuff with this. In addition to, I think, looking good, just dye the color. You could also dye it and then sand the surface of it, so you could have like the lines colored in and a different color on and the ivory color peeking through on the square sections. Could be really cool. Should be noted, these are just a few of the new CIVIVIs that just dropped. Kind of pulled out just a couple to show you, make sure to check them all out. On that subject, we have a fixed blade. Maybe we'll call this a fixed blade. This is the... Certainly fixed. It is fixed. This is the Arata. $190 or thereabouts for this. 7.5 inches of blade, thereabout. I'd kind of call this a cross between a hatchet, a cleaver, and an ulu in a way. Very cool mashup of those things. Should be noted, this is a D2 steel blade. While D2 can hold an edge a good long time, it's not the toughest steel in the world. So if you are gonna use this for like choppy things, which let's be honest, you're gonna want to use this for choppy things, keep it reasonable. You know, you're not felling trees with something like this. The geometry of it is actually a flat grind, comes up kind of to the bottom of this finger hole right here. And it's that finger hole element that really kind of drives home that ulu comparison, because you can get there behind the edge, use this for kitchen-y type things, food prep, general use, general utility like an ulu was used for. You could use it in the kitchen like that. You could use it in the kitchen as kind of a meat cleaver or do some light wood chopping with it. Overall, this thing just strikes me as fun. It's one of my, not one of my, I'd say it's definitely my favorite of their recent kind of adventurous fixed blade offerings. I think it is very intriguing. G10 for the handles. There's a few different colors. This black G10 comes with the black coated blade, or not the black coated, but the black oxidized blade, essentially. You've also got OD green and tan. Those come with satin blades. Very nice. The sheath is over here. It's always a good day when I have to hunt for the sheaths next to me, because that means we have a lot of fixed blades on the table, which I like. Here it is. It is Kydex. Clicks in quite nicely. You've got CIVIVI's T-clip there on the back, and it is set up for belt carry right out of the box. A lot of weight on the belt, but you could do it. Get a big belt. You could get a big belt, or just be motivated. That's neat. That's just a neat one. Interesting. Next up, CIVIVI's parent company, Knife Company. A couple, I believe, all of these are, is this a limited edition? No, we have two knives. One of them is a limited edition. This one is not. This is the Magnetron. 365 and some change. You've got a 3 3/4 inch 20 CV blade, black coat or black finished drop or clip point. Apologies. Drop shot action, as you can see. Nice, super crisp ball bearing flipper action. And kind of what WE is known for these days. Intricate milled titanium handles with a super strong frame lock. And in this case, we have inlays with, let me get it right, copper foil carbon fiber. Very, very cool looking. Especially looks good next to the anodized parts of the titanium frame on these holes on the front. Super nice. There's really not too much I can think of to say about this knife because it's quite simply a stunning piece that does everything that WE knife does so well. Namely, impeccable quality. The fit and finish is excellent. The lockup is solid. The action is great. Everything feels every bit up to the dollar amount they're asking you for it. The edges, actually, I haven't mentioned the edges on these yet. WE and CIVIVI do a fantastic job with their factory edges. They are one of the best in the business. The edges are nice and thin. They're highly refined, so you have a pretty decent polish on them. Just super, super sharp right out of the box. And this knife has all of it. Should be mentioned, there are a few different color options of that knife as well as this next knife, the Exciton. This is a limited edition, as I mentioned. Each one of the different finishes are limited to 205 pieces on this one. It's numbered here on the back of the blade. 344 and some change for this one. Blade is 20 CV as well, almost 3.7 inches, compound ground drop point with the black finish here. Very, very nice. The frame is titanium and the spine is carbon fiber. It's actually a single piece kind of wraparound carbon fiber screwed into each side of the frame. So the two sides, or the two titanium pieces, are independent, and it's that carbon fiber there holding them together. Looks really great with that anodized blue line there on the inside. Just a lot of cool little detailing overall. Milled titanium pocket clip. Actually, that's the same case with the previous knife. But in this case, instead of a frame lock, we have a button lock. Not a whole lot of button lock WEs out there. We have the Ziphius that came out as a limited edition not too long ago. We actually have a couple of those left, not sure. So it's always cool to see another side in WE's lineup. You've got the thumb cutout or the finger cutout. Reverse flick works great, as you can see. Standard thumb flick works great. Flipping works great, and wrist flicking works great too. All right, those knives are pretty blingy. How about, I was about to say a blingy fixed blade. It's not super blingy, but you definitely have a lot of detail going on aesthetically here. Big new batch of Dawson knives in MagnaCut steel. We have just hit the site within the last week or so, a couple weeks. This model is called the Explorer Elite, 5.5-inch blade of MagnaCut, as mentioned. Hollow grind on this one, keeping the edge itself a little thinner because you are dealing with like 3/16 of an inch stock there. So you've got some strength there at the spine while keeping the edge pretty thin at the same time. Blade shape, great crossover between the outdoor and the tactical styles, which some might say make it a survival knife. In fact, I would say that. Really nicely done. G10 for the handles. This one is Ultrex Camo. A few different colors there are available, and this one especially looks great next to their kind of apocalyptic blade finish. I don't know if that's what they call it. Actually, they call it the Scorched Earth finish. It's kind of like apocalyptic there. They look awesome in any case. Super rugged feeling. Handles feel pretty darn good. I do like what they did with the protruding tang here at the back. They've kind of narrowed it down to a more narrow finishing point here. Kind of a blend between having an actual spike and just having a flattened extending pommel right there. It's going to help you concentrate force if you need to bash on it with things, but if you need to use it in sort of a drilling grip, it's less likely to stab you unnecessarily or poke you unnecessarily. You also could crisp that up if you wanted to use it as a striker, because it's not quite there out of the box and the spine's not going to do it either, but you have that option. It'd be pretty cool. Tons of great fixed blades from them right now. Here's the sheath for that one. It's a hybrid leather front and Kydex backer. It has this two-way belt loop, so you can carry it horizontally or vertically right out of the box. And that'll work with, make sure. I think this works with a tech lock if you wanted to. Yep, if you want to take the belt loop off, you could use a tech lock for this sheath, no problem. That will, of course, allow you to carry it the same two ways, essentially, vertically or horizontally, but you could clip it on and off more easily. All right, we have a new version of the case Kinzua. There's a lot of knives on the table today.
Indeed.
I'm gonna try to keep it a little snappier, keep the pace going. New versions of the Kinzua with some Cerakoted handles. This is the bronze speckle. There's also a really cool snake skin version right now that looks, I think, fantastic. Same S35VN blade steel as the standard, but you've got this really cool translucent DLC'd finish. Tanto and spear point versions or drop point versions are available right now. Now, this knife has all of those things that the original Kinzua has. That's really cool to see from a company like Case. Of course, known for their slip joints, and these are made right next to the slip joints. Same factory. You've got your aluminum frame lock with the lock bar insert for rigidity, deep carry clip, which is reversible, ball bearings in the pivot, nice snappy action. Action's quite good, in fact. The blade here, not so much a slicer, but a bit more of a beater tank style of blade. Definitely feels like something that could withstand a lot of punishment, and especially with a handle like this, it's got the aesthetics to back it up. Price on this, about $164. For our third American-made knife in a row, we have the 2.0 version of the Toor Merchant. New color option here, and I'm actually, full honesty, I'm not typically a black blade person. I like a satin or even better, a stone-washed finish typically, but I'm really digging the finish on here. It is a black oxide finish. You've got almost a graphite-y look, a little bit of sheen, which is nice. Nice thin carrying titanium handles, frame lock, washers in the pivot. Now, some out there have compared this to something like the Chris Reeve Sebenza, and I think in terms of gracefulness of the profile and the absolute like nitty-gritty quality fit and finish type of thing, I think the Sebenza still takes the lead, but you can kind of see what they're going for here. It's built along a similar kind of philosophy. You've got simple titanium handles, you've got washers in the pivot, which better for handling dirt and that sort of thing than a ball bearing based pivot can be. Fairly elegant blade shape here, but a little bit interesting. It's kind of upturned. The edge itself is angled up a little bit. You've got S35VN, 3.5 inches. I really like the precise nature of it. Like, normally I like a blade, honestly, that points down a little bit. This one's pointing up, and yet in the hand, imagining cutting things, this tip is going right where I want it to go. Now you may be saying, well, of course it does, but that's honestly not always the case with every knife. There's something about the handling of this that is very intuitive, and I appreciate that very, very much. The lockup, super solid. We have a deep carry pocket clip. It's right side tip up only. You have dual thumb studs on the knife, and despite not having ball bearings, you still have fantastic action on this knife. All right, we still got a lot of knives on the table. Let's keep it rolling. The Tops Modern Gladius is finally here. This was one that's been a long time coming. Bullet points, 6.5 inch 1095 blade, double edged, extremely sharp by the way. Micarta handles with red liners, made in the USA, says it right there. $170 for this. Now I gotta say, if you've been eagerly anticipating this knife, I rather think it's probably worth the wait. I mean, the feel of it is great. The agility, it's even got like a stable feeling, like single finger and thumb grip. It feels super controllable even like that. I mean, the nimbleness of this knife is fantastic. The double edge, of course, is ferocious. Very tactical, of course. You have the ring there at the back. Not so much a pinky ring. Even my pinkies are a little larger than some out there, but even so, it doesn't quite fit. It's just, man, it's awesome. It's built by Tops, so the heat treat is fantastic. The build quality is going to be quite good. The warranty is excellent as well. Can't say enough good things about it. Kydex sheath. Click. You've got a rotating loop here at the back with a dangler for your belt so you can carry it a little lower. This will work with Tech-Lock hole spacing, so if you would rather have it clipped to your belt securely that way, you've got the option. Comes with their little freebie whistle. Probably wouldn't want to leave it on there. Not exactly tactical when it's rocking around like that. It's just so cool, man. The thing that surprises me most, maybe surprises is the wrong word, but it's one of the things that never comes across in a photograph of a knife, for instance, what you're seeing on the website, because it's impossible for it to come across, is that feel in the hand. And sometimes Even though I'm not a tactical guy at all, something just reaches out and speaks to you, and this is one of them. You know, when you feel a knife that feels kind of alive in the hand, handle enough knives and you'll know when that happens, it is excellent. It is truly special, I should say, as is this knife. Next, we have a new blade shape in the medium infantry fixed blade from Halfbreed Blades, $385 for these. It's sort of in a way, kind of think of this as sort of a stretched out tracker blade profile. Think like the Tom Brown tracker from Topps. You've got the same kind of drop and defined point here. So it's not quite recurve so much as a recurved section and another section. Pretty cool. You're gonna get some of the same advantages in this blade here as you would on something like the tracker, but it's something a bit more focused on tactical use than, you know, one tool option survival. You will get that extra kind of shearing point. It's almost like one big serration right there, pulling through things, pull cuts. Things are gonna kind of gather into that cutting edge right there and cut quite nicely. But then you've got a more general purpose kind of drop point style of profile out there near the tip. Plenty acute enough for thrusting tasks if you need it. Overall length, we're about 6.7 inches. You've got K110 steel from Bowler, which is their highly precise version of D2, essentially. Really cool duotone finish here with the blade coating accenting nicely against the G10 handle there. It's almost like a desaturated maroon G10 here. It's a really cool color. The handles themselves are sort of faceted, but they feel pretty good in the hand. I wouldn't necessarily go carving for hours with this, but again, this is not really a carving knife. Combat gloves would help with that a little bit, but even without them, it's not too bad. You do have a forward guard to keep you from sliding forward, nothing on the back to make it a little more versatile for those non-combat uses. And then you've got the protruding tang there at the back with a concentrated apex point for smashy smashy. You know what I'm talking about. Like all Halfbreed blades, they are built extremely well. They feel super solid in the hand. And they come with a sheath. As I paw through my pile of sheaths again. It is Kydex. We have what looks like an extra retention loop or an extra reinforcement loop at the top here, but that's actually part of the mounting plate for the two dots straps right here. There's also a dots style tech lock equivalent included in the package. So plenty of options, whether you need it attaches to molly webbing or just to a strap or belt. They take care of you right out of the box. That's also something Halfbreed blades have always been exceptionally good at doing. You saw me show this in the FAQ over the weekend, but I promised a slightly deeper look at the new Spartan Harsey professional grade knives. You bought all the fighters we had. We bought a lot of them, but you bought more than we bought. So all we have at the moment, until more come in, is the Nessmuk version of this knife, which makes me happy because I'm a Nessmuk guy, and it feels fantastic. $125 for these, made in the USA by K-Bar actually. This is a partnership blade with them, designed by Bill Harsey, and the handles is where it all comes together. They are, simply put, superb. The feel in the hand, the contouring is masterful. It locks into the hand quite nicely. It's not fighting your grip in any way. Makes the balance pretty good too. And that has to do less with the contouring, more with the material here. It's injection molded, but it's one of those injection mold jobs that's so good, you could easily mistake it for something more premium. The cool thing about an injection molded material for something like this is you can get a super complex shape like this. I mean, just look at all the milling, all the inside curves, those flare here at the back, all without the machine time that comes along with milling out a material into this shape. That helps keep the price down a little bit. For an American-made knife of this quality, $125 ain't that bad at all. Speaking of the blade, 5 inches, 1095 CV, time-proven stuff, very tough, holds an edge pretty well, easily field serviceable too, because it's not gonna hold an edge forever, of course. As far as the actual shape itself, it skews, to my eye at least, a little more butcher knifey than Nessmucky, but of course there is some overlap in those two genres right there. It is a very elegant blade shape, about 5/32 of an inch thick with almost a full flat grind. Means you've got a great combination of strength and slicing ability, and that's what a Nessmuck's always been all about for me, that nice, long, sweeping slice. Very, very enamored of this knife. I do have one correction though. It's more like 3/16 of an inch. It's a little thicker than I thought. Still good, still superb. Removable handle scales, so you could upgrade them and swap something else on there if you wanted to, but don't, because like I said, superb. It's very good. Sheath is injection molded as well. You got a nice click in. You've got a secondary switch here, which means you can't just pull the knife out. It's not just gonna come loose on you unless you slide that switch forward and then pull the knife out, which is pretty cool. Another thing that folks will appreciate, the sheath itself is made in the USA as well. That's not always the case with a lot of the K-Bar made products, even the Becker stuff, which is some fantastic USA made fixed blades. A lot of times, some of the sheaths are made overseas sometimes. As far as options, you can carry it on a belt like so. You've got this secondary strap for a little extra retention on the handle, but you could remove that if you want, because this whole back panel is Velcroed, and that little piece is removable, should you wish it. So it's cool to have that option. It's cool because there is plenty of retention, I think, in the sheath as is. So cool stuff. Next up, we have one more big fixed blade, a White River. This is designed by Justin Gingrich. It's the GTI 4.5. About $315 for this, also made in the USA. Justin Gingrich, of course, of Ranger Knives fame. Very well-established lineup that was eventually acquired by Ontario. Kind of getting some of those same vibes in this knife right here, and definitely the most premium feeling production GTI style knife that I've ever held. It feels great. I love what White River does. Such a good thing. 4.5-inch blade, all around drop point shape, S35 VN steel with a black ion bond coating. 3/16 or so is the blade thickness. Again, like we just talked about on that Spartan, that gives you a good amount of strength for a blade this size and a decently high flat grind, probably about 2/3 to 3/4 of the height up the blade itself. So you've got some pretty decent slicing to go along with the strength. Fantastic for outdoor work, especially. A little less tactical, it could certainly do in that role, but the blade shape is a little more general purpose feeling to me. But GTI, of course, stands for Gingrich Tactical Innovations, so take that with a grain of salt. Micarta handles, they feel good. Again, despite the crenellations, I always worry how sharp they're gonna feel in the hand. These do not feel sharp. All the edges that would have been sharp are nicely buffed over or milled over. Just feels pretty good, gives you a lot of traction for sure. Protruding tang at the back, kind of a ridged section there, more for grip, less for smashing, but smashing, of course, can be done. Feels good, man, feels really good. KatanaX sheath, many of the same things we've talked about today still apply here. You've got tech lock compatibility with the holes, but out of the box, you've got a kind of backer with a dangler loop, which is removable, so you could take it on and off the belt fairly easily at the end of the day, what have you. Super nice. Always cool to see some new White River in the building. The last fixed blade for today. The Buck PakLite series is back. New and improved, slightly new shapes, new material. I don't remember there being a higher end version at least. Base models of this still come with your 420HC and an orange G10 handle, I believe. You've also got some more premium versions now available with S35 VN, and in this case, a canvas micarta set of handle scales. Really cool, gives it a little bit of extra girth, a little bit of extra grip on what's otherwise a very small hunting knife. And there are 3 blade shapes. I just pulled my favorite of the 3 blade shapes because we do have a ton of stuff on the table today. This is the Hide Pro. It's just kind of the general purpose small skinner. There's also the Cape, a small caper, and the Processor, which is kind of a small fillet knife or small boning knife style with a upswept blade. Really cool. The prices on the series start around the $40 mark for the Hide in its 420HC version. This one right here with the S35 and the micarta is about $115. Really, really cool. The stone-washed finish looks great. It's gonna hide scratches from use as you actually put the blade to work. Got a hollow grind keeping the edge thin enough. It's not the thinnest hollow grind up behind the edge as some out there, but it's still plenty thin, plenty usable. As far as the sheath, it is set up Without belt attachment here, this is primarily a neck knife, but thanks to the hole and slot here, you could throw something like a tech lock or a T-clip on there. You've got plenty of versatility, should work with pretty much any hole spacing out there. Retention is good. That's gonna work really nicely. Especially at the price too. Some of the $40 ones, if you're looking for an ultralight hiking knife, you don't want something too big, could be a great, great option. All right, next up, the GiantMouse ACE Atelier. 2 new versions of this knife. We've got a carbon fiber as well as this red canvas micarta version now in stock. Hit the site earlier this week. $215 for the micarta version and $245 for the carbon fiber. 2 7/8 inch long is the blade length. You've got L-Max steel with a stone washed finish. Nice rugged feeling finish, especially with these rugged micarta handles. I think it has a great vibe, great pairing right there. Wire pocket clip. It's almost completely deep carry and it is reversible for lefties or righties. We have an inset liner lock right here and we have ball bearings in the pivot. This is one of the Italian-made giant mouses made in Maniago. And as such, we see some of those kind of signature elements that the GiantMouse line has had since the beginning, like the crowned spine right here. They have carried that over to some of the Chinese-produced knives, but it's always felt like such a signature element that so many of the Italian manufacturers like to use. I love it. It looks great, and it also feels good under the thumb, as I've always said. Just fantastic little combo right there. Plenty of grip on this knife. You've got just enough for all 4 fingers to sit on there. Kind of a 3.5 finger grip for me, but doesn't feel like I'm losing too much. Very, very nice. All right, next up, new brand here at the KnifeCenter. We're very excited to be bringing them on, and that's Vosteed. And the first 2 knives especially have been big hits. The Racoon is one of them. Here it is right here. This version's $59. And it's easy to see why this has been so popular. You've got a 3¼ inch blade, Sandvik 14C 28N steel. In my opinion, pretty much my favorite steel you can get in an affordable knife these days. Sharpens up really nicely. It's nicely tough as well. Not a common thing in a stainless steel. So it's always cool to see that. It holds a good fine edge very easily. Very cool. And of course the blade shape is just a great general purpose shape too. Drop point, almost a full flat grind, not too thick. Just about perfect, really. The handles are blue canvas micarta. Really cool shape. Really well considered on how your fingers actually interface with this handle. Similar to the Atelier we just looked at here, with its kind of kick up there near the back. Offers just enough for all 4 fingers, and your pinky grabs onto that section quite nicely, at least mine does. But then rather than an integrated choil, this area around the pivot sort of just flattened out and leads into the ricasso there, gives you a flat area for choking up. Whether you're choking up for a fuller grip, although I have plenty back here, or whether you're just doing kind of that pinch for more detail work. Really, really cool. You've also got a button lock right there, which means you've got that wrist flick stuff, the thumb studs work great, ball bearings in the pivot here, and it's just right on. Check out how cleanly that folds up too, the nice profile going on. Definitely appreciate that. The pocket clip is folded over, but not quite deep carry, and it is reversible too. So you've got some lefty love in that knife as well. The next knife has an even more dramatic look, and that is the Nightshade. This is the TH thumbhole version. $72 for this one. Comes with a 3¼ inch blade, 154 cm. Kind of, it's described as sort of kukri-esque. I'd say it's more of like a Chinese style leaf shape, but to each their own. Really cool blade shape, really effective blade shape. You can also kind of think of this as like an inverted Canadian belt knife shape with that elliptical profile. I like it. Crown spine here, full flat grind, stone washed finish. Just really, really cool. This one has a white G10 handle with white G10 handles with a single-sided deep carry pocket clip inset with flush screws. Very, very nice. As far as the action here, we're dealing with a ball bearing based pivot and a liner lock, so it should be pretty easy to flick it out no matter what. You don't have to worry about putting pressure on a lock bar like you might with a frame lock. Yeah, that reverse flick feels great. Of course, you've got your standard thumb flick too. Overall, it just works. The cool thing about a downward canted blade here is if you're working down towards the surface, you've got a lot of belly. You're able to just engage with whatever you're cutting very easily without having to adjust your grip too far up. Very, very cool. Last and not least from the Vosteed I'm going to show you this week, although make sure to check out the whole lineup that we've brought on at the link in the description, is the Grind. You guys know I'm a sucker for a crossbar lock, and we have a good one right here. Works great, fidget friendly, finger safe, nice and strong and reliable. That's why I like them. The really interesting thing here, Scandi Grind. Check it out. That flat bevel right down to the 0 mark, no secondary edge on there. As such, great for carving wood especially. It's got a bit of a high grind angle to it, I would say, or a shallow grind angle to it, I would say. A little bit more than you might find on some heavier use like bushcraft fixed blades out there. Kind of trying to bridge the gap, I guess, between that and just your everyday carry slicey blade shapes. I'm running out of words. Clearly. The handle has micarta, and it has that frag pattern as well. A little bit of contouring I'm detecting to it as well. It's not just perfectly flat, which is kind of neat. The pocket clip is reversible, and it is inset and flush screw attached, which is cool to see. And I love that they maintained the full ambidextrous nature that the crossbar lock provides with the clip and the thumb studs too. Really, really cool. Haven't mentioned the price or the blade specs, have I? Apart from the Grind. 3¼ inch blade, 154 cm, $75 for this knife. One thing you will want to think about, ball bearings in the pivot here. So for an outdoors folder, just make sure you keep it clean when you're doing that, your bushcrafting sort of thing with this blade. All right, speaking of outdoorsy things, we have something here that's not outdoorsy, but to my mind, is clearly inspired by the outdoorsy. This is the D-Rocket Mid-Tech Side Automatic KatanaX Auto XL. It's weird to see XL behind something with a 3-inch blade, but there's a smaller version of this. $425 for this. Not an outdoor knife, but very clearly to me evokes like classic Finnish puukos, which typically are very at home in the outdoors. But this is more of a high-tech, everyday carry style of take on that kind of shape. M390 blade, you have this almost straight-backed profile, plenty of belly, almost sodbuster-ish in a way too. Milled titanium pocket clip on the contoured titanium frame. Actually, it's not contoured, it's fairly flat. It fooled me with the nice bevels along the side, or the nice chamfering. We have a safety switch here on the side, which works in the open or closed position, as you can see right there. Because as mentioned, this is an automatic knife. So you put the safety on, won't fire, click it off, and there you go. Pretty nicely put together thing, I gotta say. If I didn't know any better, yeah, actually, I had a brain fart there. This is made in the USA as well because it is an automatic. A lot of times I think they have used Riot for a lot of their things. I was about to say, how did Riot get an auto into the States? But they didn't, so there you go. Next up, 2 O-knives to round things up. We have the Rubato, not to be confused with the Rubato 2, which we've already seen. Interesting that they're coming out in that order, unless we just got them out of order, I don't know. $85 for this knife, almost a 3½ inch Tonto blade. The steel is 154 cm here. Nice black stone washed finish. The liners are anodized blue, and you've got some cutouts in the handle scales where you can see that through the front as well. And then for a lanyard point, you've got a G10 backspacer as well with an integrated hole. Deep carry pocket clip, not reversible, unfortunately. I wish they would have done that because, again, you've got that nice ambidextrous quality of the crossbar lock too, and the dual thumb studs. If you're going to use this on the right side, it won't bother you, but lefties, I'm sorry for that. Action feels great. If they're still getting Kaiser to build these for them, it's no surprise. Ball bearings in the pivot here. Action's wonderful, build quality, everything you want, absolutely. And last but not least, we have the Oknife Spurdog. $60 for this knife. 3-inch D2 blade, just classic, simple drop point blade. This is like the 3rd frag handle we've had today.
Fragging out.
a bit of a trend going on. I didn't even realize it. Aluminum for this frag handle, however. Nice kind of gray, almost slate gray, a little hint of blue in it to its color. We do have a deep carry pocket clip, inset with flush screws, very, very cool. And this is an assisted opening knife with a backup safety right here. As I close the blade, I'll take just another moment to appreciate the geometry here. Thin enough, grind is flat and high enough. Just a great little everyday slicer. We've got a liner lock. You've got snappy assisted opening action. Quite good assisted opening action, in fact. It works really well with this small flipper tab because it makes it feel almost like a button in a way. You just kind of have to push it. I was very deliberate there in the action, but if you're just opening the knife, it's just a quick little press. Very, very cool. But you do have that secondary safety just in case you want it. Works in the closed position. Won't go. Slide it forward, goes. You can pull the lock switch back when it is open, but the only thing that's going to do is prevent you from closing it all the way. So it doesn't work as a lock open so much, or as a secondary backup lock, but it will do some things for you in the closed position primarily. Really, really sweet. Couple colors of this right now. There's a green as well, which joins the lineup. All right, that was a lot of knives. Thanks for sticking around. I was trying to cram a lot in because we've been getting backed up. There've been a lot of new cool releases of late. I didn't want to keep them from you. So here you go. Let me know what you thought in the comments. If you want to get your hands on any of them, check out the links in the description. And as always, don't forget about our Knife Rewards program, because if you're picking up one of these knives today, might as well be earning some free money to spend on your next ones. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.